Hello again. So this time it's our most elegant technique. It's the one with the graceful lines, curves and swirls. It lightens our flower arrangements and it reminds us of beautiful wrought ironwork and metal filigree. Our ancestors loved it and so do we. It's open coils. So, open coils. And the simplest open coil is possibly the simplest quilling technique of all. We just take a piece of paper strip and we roll it up, and there you are, the simplest open coil you could hope for. Now this rolling action is very similar to that I showed on closed loose coils. If you haven't seen it, you might want to have another look, but I could just give you a quick demonstration. I take the paper strip and scratch it. I may use damp fingers then to pull back the very tip, and I'm doing this action between my finger and thumb to create a nice regular coil with a nice tight centre. It's very important that this paper is perfect. It's more important than for any other technique. It needs to be 100 grams or as close as possible in weight, but it also needs to be perfect from the pack, or one that you've looked after carefully. If you have strips like this, which I sometimes do, I don't know if you can see that, but there are little kinks and marks and bruises on this strip. You can use those for your more robust coils. You can use them for solid coils, tight coils, ring coils. You cannot use them for the delicate filigree open coils. So, as well as the simple one, we have created quite a few more complex ones, and here they are in their simplest forms. Here's the simple one I made a little while ago. Then there's antenna, sometimes called V, cherries, sometimes called quotes, heart, nearly always called heart, scroll, and S, and sometimes S scroll. But we don't have to have them exactly like this, of course. There's an infinite variety of others that we can make. That simple open coil could look like this. It could look like this. Could be tight to start with and then loose. It could have a curl at this end. And antenna, I could take that antenna shape, but it could be asymmetrical. It could be big at this side and small at the other side. It can be reshaped. It could be like so. Still antenna. This also, still antenna. Fold in the middle, curls at either side. Cherries or quotes can look like this, or I could turn it into this shape, which is unusual and interesting. I could make this one big and this one tiny. Again, we could go on forever. Heart, we can reshape heart by making it big at this side perhaps, little at that side. And then one of my favourite things to do with a heart shape is to pull one side over the other and get that very lovely and useful shape. Scroll again can be symmetrical or it can be not symmetrical. It can look like this, or just be generally big, or I could put a straight piece at its centre if that's what my pattern requires. And S, again, my S scroll could be completely asymmetrical, could be very tight at this side and very loose at that side, or it could be generally loose all over. So you can see all those variations, but I'm sure you could think of multitudes more variations. So if I want to make this quilling look a little lighter, it's okay like that, but if I want it to lighten it a little, I would probably use open coils for that purpose. And I would take my paper strips and I'd think, well, I wonder what I could do here. Maybe I will add a little coil down at the bottom there. So the same technique as before, I'm rolling back tip, and I'm thinking, will it look good in there? It's a bit curly. I think I'm going to straighten it a little bit, open it up a little bit. I might turn that one back on itself. So you see that the scratching technique and the rolling and re-rolling and reshaping is the kind of ideal thing that we're after, so that we can get these lovely coils to do exactly what we want, shaping and reshaping. So I might put a second one here. So again, I would roll, and you see I very rarely use the complicated coils. The coil I use the most, the open coil that I use the most, is most definitely a simple one. Hardly ever use the more complex ones. I'd prefer to just do them as they are and reshape. Is that one going to go in there? No. So what I need to do is curl it this way instead. See how that looks. Yeah, so I'm quite happy with that shaping now. That's looking quite nice. So gluing down, again, you're going to have to be extra careful with the gluing down, because, you know, our lovely open coils are very delicate, easily spoiled, and as soon as they are, you'll see it. Whatever has happened to your paper strip before will show. So perfect strips and delicate, a delicate touch all the time. And when gluing down, I like to use these flat-ended tweezers, because that means that I can pick up my coils like this, and I know that they're safe and that I'm not actually going to spoil them. I would also use my wet palette, of course, and the glue might well be a little waterier than usual, just so that the tackiness does not spoil the shape of my delicate open coils. So I'll pick up, of course, like this, and then I'm going to dunk into my wet palette, and one or two dunks is all I'm going to need. Stick down. That does not have to be clarted up with lots of glue, because they're light and easily glued down. Actually, I'm going to show you something else that I'm not doing here, and I should do. Always with greetings cards, this is a much better arrangement, otherwise your card is flapping up all the time. I'm always telling my students about that, and now I just did it myself for you. So this one's going to go in here again, glue it down like so, and finally this little loose antenna that I made earlier can go there. There we are. So now I'd be quite happy now that this is a much more open looking design with graceful coils on it. And then there are open coils which are not really coils at all. These lines that I've done around the QG sign are almost like drawing, but not with a pencil, with paper strips. That doesn't make them easier to create, of course. In fact, if I took this antenna, that's relatively easy to make. This one, made of the same length strip, is more difficult, especially if I'm wanting it to be perfectly symmetrical. So my friends and family are more likely to be impressed with this kind of quilling than they are with this sort of quilling. But in actual fact, this one, getting everything exactly in the right place and being so fine, was a lot more difficult to create. It's worth doing though. It adds a whole new dimension to your quilling. So finally, I just want to show you how to make double open coils. They're some of my favourite things to do, and I think you'll enjoy seeing them. I love to do words and letters and words with my open coils, and here you can see I've made a few double open coils to write this name, E and a T, and I've started my H, but I'll just finish it with a double open coil so you can see what I'm doing. I have glued two short strips together like this. Better if it's there. And you could just fold your strip actually, but gluing them together is makes a nice crisper end. I'm then going to make my open coil, but this time of course I'm rolling two strips together. So it's a simple open coil, but it's double. I'm then going to push with my finger and thumb, and you'll see that they separate in this nice, very attractive way, very popular with our quilling ancestors. And to keep it there, I'll put a little dot of glue in the position where I want it to be. And a very little dot, but good enough. My H is going to come like this. So as we know, if you manipulate, curl, curve, you can get the kind of shape that you want. So my H could be finished off like this, with a very big sweep at the end of it. So there you are, open coils. Enjoy.